Today we're doing a summary of a book that has, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, really changed the game for personal development. We're talking about Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones by James Clear.
It really has. I think its success comes from how it cuts through the noise. It bridges that huge gap between, I want to be better and the actual scientific steps to get there.
Absolutely. And our goal today isn't just a quick overview. We really want to give you the full blueprint, the manual for transformation that Clear lays out. Because we all face that problem, right? We have these big goals, we get motivated, and then life happens. Motivation just fades.
And the book tackles that head on. It's not about finding more motivation. It's about making motivation irrelevant. Clear argues that real sustainable change isn't about these massive heroic efforts. It's all about the aggregation of marginal gains.
And it comes from a really personal place for him, which I think is important. This isn't just theory he read somewhere. He had to rebuild his life after a really severe baseball injury in high school. He had to start from zero, focusing on these incredibly tiny, small habits just to get back on his feet.
And that's where the name comes from, Atomic Habits. Their change is so small they seem, almost insignificant on their own. One push-up, reading one page, saving $5. But the whole point is that they compound. They build on each other exponentially.
Which brings us to what I think is the single most important sentence in the entire book. It's the hook, it's the thesis, it's everything. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
That's a revolutionary idea for so many people. It just takes all the pressure off this distant, intimidating goal and puts the focus right here on today, on the process. It's about designing a life where the good habits are just the easy choice. It's a manual for behavioral design.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's dive right into that mathematical core in our first section. The power of tiny gains. This is where he shows why small habits are everything.
Right, because our intuition about progress is, well, it's just wrong. We think in straight lines. We think if I work twice as hard, I'll get twice the result. But habits don't add up. They compound. They multiply.
And the math he presents is, frankly, kind of mind-blowing. If you get just 1% better at something every day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. You end up 37 times better. That's the power of each day's gain building on the last one.
The leverage is incredible. It's taking this tiny, almost unnoticeable input, that 1%, and getting this massive exponential output. Often the difference between wild success and failure isn't some huge gap in talent. It's that slight, consistent edge in their daily compounding rate.
And the scary part is that it works in reverse, too, which he makes very clear.
Oh, absolutely. That same 1% principle. If you let yourself get 1% worse each day, making a slightly poorer food choice, skipping that one page of reading, by the end of the year, you're not just back where you started, you're effectively at zero. That's how powerful negative compounding is. Every day matters.
Let's take it beyond the usual diet example. Think about a skill, like, say, 2 new software developers starting a job.
Okay, yeah, perfect example. They start with the exact same skill set.
Right. Developer A spends an extra 15 minutes every single day just, learning one new function or tidying up a piece of code. Developer B just does their assigned work and clocks out. For the first few months, you can't tell them apart. Same output, same pay.
But you fast forward 2 years, developer A has this depth of knowledge, this instinct for efficiency that developer B just can't touch. All those little 15-minute deposits, those 1% gains, have compounded into a massive professional advantage.
The problem, though, and this is where everyone gets stuck, is that you don't see those gains for a long time.
Exactly. And that brings us to what might be the most important concept for anyone starting out, the plateau of latent potential.
This is the danger zone. This is where people quit. They've been putting in the work for weeks, maybe months, but the scale hasn't moved, or the results aren't visible. So they think, this isn't working.
Right. Our brain expects a linear reward. Effort in, result out. But reality doesn't work like that. Often, the results of your effort are stored. They're invisible. The progress curve is flat for a long, long time. That's the plateau. And then once you hit a certain threshold, it shoots up exponentially.
This is the ice cube analogy.
That's the one. It's such a perfect way to visualize it. Imagine you have an ice cube in a room that's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. You start to slowly heat the room, 26 degrees, 27, 28, 29. Nothing happens. The ice cube is still a solid block of ice.
And you're putting in all this energy, all this effort, and seeing zero change. You'd get frustrated.
Of course. You'd think your effort was wasted. But then the temperature hits 30, 31, and then that one final degree, from 31 to 32 degrees, and suddenly, all at once, The change happens. The ice melts.
But that last degree wasn't more important than the others.
Not at all. All the work done from 25 to 31 degrees was essential. It wasn't wasted effort, it was stored potential. The breakthrough only happened because of all the invisible work that came before it. You have to trust the process during the plateau.
So when he says habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, that's what he means. You have to keep making the deposits even when your account balance doesn't seem to be growing.
And making those deposits consistently requires a really deep internal shift, which takes us right into the next section. This idea of focusing on systems, not goals.
This one really hits home for me because our whole culture is obsessed with goals. SMART goals, 10-year plans, vision boards. Clear doesn't say goals are useless, but he asks a brilliant question. If every athlete at the Olympics has the goal of winning a gold medal, why do only a few actually win? The goal can't be the thing that separates them.
Exactly. The goal gives you a direction. It sets the destination. But the system is the vehicle that actually gets you there. The system is the daily process you follow. And if you just obsess over the destination but ignore the vehicle, you'll never arrive. Or if you do, you won't be able to stay there.
Can we make that distinction super clear? So if your goal is, say, write a book,
Then your system is write 500 words every morning at 8 a.m. The goal is the outcome. The system is the repeatable process that leads to the outcome.
and the problem with goals is that they're temporary. You run the marathon, then what? The motivation is gone. The runner who is driven by the goal stops running. But the runner who is driven by the system, the identity of being a runner, they just keep going.
That's the key. A system solves the problem for good. If you're messy, the goal of cleaning your room only solves the problem for a day. The system of putting things away immediately after using them solves the problem forever.
It brings us back to that core quote again. When things get tough, you won't magically rise to meet your ambitious goal. You will fall back to the level of your system, your default. So that default has to be rock solid.
And building that default system, that's where we get into the real psychological heart of the book. It's what he calls identity-based habits.
Right. This goes deeper than just process. It's about who you are.
It is. Clear says most of us try to change from the outside in. We start with the outcome we want. I want to lose 20 pounds. But real lasting change works from the inside out. You start with identity. I am a healthy person.
So you're not forcing yourself to do something. You're simply acting in alignment with who you believe you are.
Precisely. And that eliminates so much internal friction. If you don't see yourself as a writer, sitting down to write feels like a chore. It's a battle. But if you've adopted the identity, I am a writer, then not writing feels wrong. It feels like you're not being true to yourself.
He uses that great smoking example. When someone offers you a cigarette, the person focused on the outcome says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit."
Which implies they are still a smoker, just one who is currently resisting. The struggle is right there in the language.
But the person who has made the identity shift says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker."
It's a statement of fact. The decision has already been made. The habit is no longer part of who they are, so there's no temptation to resist.
But how do you just decide to have a new identity? That feels like a huge leap.
Well, you don't do it all at once, and this is the genius part. You prove it to yourself with evidence. That's where he introduces the metaphor of voting.
I love this idea.
Every single small action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become.
So choosing to walk up the stairs instead of taking the elevator is one small vote for I am a fit person.
Mm-hmm.
Putting $10 into your savings account is a vote for I am financially responsible.
Exactly. And you don't need a unanimous victory. You just need to win the majority. You might have a donut for breakfast, a vote against your identity, but then you have a healthy lunch and go for a walk. That's 2 votes for it. Over time, these votes accumulate and build a body of evidence that solidifies your new identity in your own mind. Your brain starts to believe it.
It makes the positive choice feel natural and the negative choice feel foreign.
Mm-hmm. And that's why he says the most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become. It starts inside.
Okay, so that's the mindset shift. Goals to systems, outcomes to identity. But now we need the how, the actual instruction manual. And that brings us to section 3, which is really the practical core of the book, the 4 laws of behavior change.
This framework is just brilliant. It's so elegant because it maps directly onto how our brains are already wired. It follows the natural feedback loop of all human behavior. Cue, then craving, then response, then reward.
And for each of those 4 stages, there's a law. So let's start with the first one, for the cue. Law 1, make it obvious.
Right. All habits start with a trigger. A cue in your environment that tells your brain a reward is available. So if you want to build a good habit, the cue for it needs to be unmissable. It needs to be right there in your face.
This is about getting out of your own head, right? Stop relying on memory or willpower to remember to do the thing.
Completely. You can't just hope you'll remember to meditate. You need to put the meditation cushion in the middle of your living room floor. You want to read more. Don't leave the book on the shelf. Put it on your pillow.
And this is where environmental design starts to come in. If you want to drink more water, you put a full water bottle on your desk, right in your line of sight, not in the kitchen.
And you do the opposite for bad habits. You make the cues invisible. If you waste time on your phone, you don't leave it on your desk, you put it in another room. If you eat junk food, you don't leave it on the counter, you hide it in the back of the pantry.
You can't change your life until you change your environment. That's a direct quote, and it's so true.
It is. Okay, so once the cue is obvious, we move to the next stage, the craving. Law 2 is make it attractive.
Our brains are wired to seek pleasure, so we need to make the habit we're trying to build seem appealing, not like a chore.
But most good habits, like exercise or saving money, have a delayed reward. The pleasure is way off in the future. So we need a hack. And that hack is called temptation bundling.
This is where you pair something you want to do with something you need to do.
Exactly. The thing you want to do becomes the immediate reward for starting the thing you need to do. The classic example. You only allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast or watch your favorite Netflix show while you're on the treadmill.
So your brain starts to associate the treadmill, which used to be boring, with the pleasure and anticipation of the podcast. It makes the craving for the podcast transfer over to the workout.
It builds a bridge to get you over that initial resistance.
Okay, so you've seen the cue, you've made it attractive. Now you actually have to do the thing, the response. And that's law 3. Make it easy.
This might be the most important one. It's all about reducing friction. Humans are, by nature, programmed to follow the path of least resistance. So you have to make your good habits the easiest path available.
We think we need to start with these huge, ambitious actions, but that just creates resistance and leads to procrastination.
Right. The goal isn't to do the most, it's to start the most. Repetition is what matters. So you make it incredibly easy to start. You want to go for a run in the morning. You lay out your running clothes, your shoes, your headphones, everything the night before. You reduce the number of steps between you and the action.
So the friction is almost zero. You just have to get dressed and walk out the door.
Yep. He calls those first few seconds decisive moments. The choice to put your running shoes on instead of scrolling your phone. The choice to open your work document instead of social media. Law 3 is about designing your life so the good decisive moment is always the easier one.
Okay, finally, law 4, the reward stage. Make it satisfying.
This law closes the loop. It solves that problem of delayed gratification we talked about. We need to feel an immediate sense of success after completing a good habit to tell our brain, hey, that was good, do it again.
And since the real reward, like getting fit, is months away, we need to create an artificial immediate reward.
And the simplest, most powerful way to do that is visual tracking.
Like checking a box on a calendar.
Yes. That simple act of marking an X or moving a paperclip from one jar to another gives you a little hit of dopamine. It's a tiny, immediate moment of satisfaction. It tells your brain the loop was successful, and it makes you want to repeat the process tomorrow so you don't break the chain.
So when you put all 4 together, obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying, you're essentially hijacking your brain's natural wiring to build good habits automatically instead of fighting against it.
And that idea of not fighting against your nature is what leads into the next section. We have to realize that our environment often matters way more than our internal discipline, which is lesson 5. Design beats discipline.
This is such a relief to hear.
Yeah.
You know, we beat ourselves up for not having enough willpower, but Clear says the people with the best self-control are typically the ones who need to use it the least.
Exactly. They've just designed a better environment. Willpower is a finite resource, it runs out. But a well-designed environment works for you 247. We need to become, as he says, the architect of our environment.
So it's not about resisting the cookies on the counter 10 times a day. It's about not buying the cookies in the first place, so the battle never even happens.
That's it. It's proactive. It's called choice architecture. You shape your world, so the good choice is the default choice, the easy choice. Keep a bowl of fruit on the counter, hide the junk food, leave your guitar on a stand in the living room, put the TV remote in a drawer.
There's that incredible study he mentioned in the book, the one in the cafeteria.
Oh, yeah, the water study is the perfect illustration. They wanted to increase water sales. They didn't run a campaign about the benefits of hydration.
No motivation needed.
Zero motivation. All they did was change the environment. They put bottles of water at eye level in every drink cooler and added a few extra baskets of water next to the cash registers. Sales jumped by 25% just from making it obvious and easy. The environment did the work.
It really is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. So you don't need more discipline, you just need a better design.
Right. And once you understand that principle, you can just flip it on its head, which is lesson 6. You can break bad habits by using the inversion of the 4 laws.
Okay, so we're creating friction now. Let's walk through it with an example, like mindlessly scrolling on social media.
Perfect. So, law 1 inversion. Make it invisible. The cue is your phone. So you remove the cue, put the phone in another room when you're working, or at the very least, delete the social media apps from your home screen so you have to search for them.
Okay. Law 2 inversion. Make it unattractive. This is a mindset shift.
Right. Instead of thinking about the temporary pleasure of scrolling, you consciously focus on the negative consequences. You reframe it in your mind as wasting my potential or sacrificing my focus. You highlight the benefits of avoiding the habit.
Then law 3 inversion. Make it difficult. Add friction.
A lot of friction. Log out of your social media accounts after every single use. The tiny hassle of having to log back in is often enough to stop the mindless impulse. You could also use an app blocker that makes you wait 60 seconds before it opens the app.
And finally, law 4 inversion. Make it unsatisfying.
This is where you bring in an immediate cost. An accountability partner is great for this. You could make a pact with a friend that for every night you spend more than 30 minutes scrolling, you have to Venmo them $5. The immediate, unpleasant consequence short-circuits the reward loop of the bad habit.
So you're spending your energy on the one-time action of designing the system, not on the endless daily battle of resisting temptation.
But even the best system needs to evolve to keep you engaged. And that's the last piece of the puzzle here, lesson 7, the Goldilocks rule.
Not too hard, not too easy. Just right.
Just right. The rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. If a task is too easy, we get bored. If it's too hard, we get discouraged and quit.
So you have to constantly be adjusting the difficulty.
You do. A writer who has mastered writing 500 words a day needs to push to 550 to stay engaged. A weightlifter who has mastered 100 pounds needs to push to 105. You need to be in that zone of desirable difficulty. It's what keeps you focused and makes you feel like you're progressing.
If you're always comfortable, you're not growing.
Exactly. Mastery isn't a finish line. It's the process of constantly finding that sweet spot just beyond what you're capable of. That's how you sustain momentum for years.
Okay, we've covered the big picture mindset, the 4 laws, the advanced strategies. Now let's get super practical for a minute. Section 5 is about the tools you can use to just get started today. Specifically, the 2-minute rule and habit stacking.
These two are designed to crush inertia. The hardest part of any habit is just starting. The 2-minute rule is the simplest, most elegant solution I've ever seen for that problem.
The rule is, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes.
And that's it. It's not about achieving the goal, it's about mastering the art of showing up. The habit has to be standardized at the beginning, not the end. So read every day becomes read 1 page. Do yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes.
And the psychology behind it is brilliant. Because once you put on your running shoes and you're standing by the door, it's so much easier to just go for the run. You've overcome the biggest hurdle, which was starting. Even if you just put on your shoes and take them off, you still cast a vote for your identity as a runner. You showed up.
Precisely. It makes it impossible to fail. Then, to make sure you actually do that 2-minute habit consistently, you use habit stacking.
Right. This is about linking your new habit to one you already do automatically every day. You piggyback on existing momentum.
The formula is simple. After current habit, I will new habit. The current habit becomes the cue for the new one.
So instead of trying to find a random time to meditate, you'd say, after I pour my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. The coffee is the trigger. It's already built into your day.
Or, after I take my shoes off when I get home from work, I will change into my workout clothes. You're using the end of one routine to launch the beginning of the next one. It's seamless. You don't have to think or decide. It just happens.
So the 2-minute rule gets you started, and habit stacking makes sure you do it consistently.
And tracking, which we mentioned earlier, is what keeps the whole system stable over the long term. It's the reward, it's the next day's cue, and it's the proof of your new identity all in one.
When you put it all together, the identity, the laws, the stacking, the 2-minute rule, you're really not just hoping for change anymore. You're consciously engineering it. You're designing the feedback loop.
Absolutely. So to make this all as concrete as possible for you, let's just quickly run through the 10 most critical, actionable takeaways from the book, the ultimate cheat sheet.
Yeah, let's do it. The essential blueprint.
First, aim for 1% improvement, not perfection. Trust in the power of tiny daily gains compounding over time.
Second, focus on your systems, not your goals. The goal is your destination, but the system is what actually gets you there.
Third, build identity-based habits. Decide who you want to become and then prove it to yourself with small wins.
Fourth, use Law 1. Make your cues obvious. Design your environment so your good habits are the first thing you see.
Fifth, Law 2. Make it attractive. Use temptation bundling to link what you need to do with what you want to do.
Sixth, Law 3. Make it easy. Reduce friction. The easier a habit is to start, the more likely you are to do it.
Seventh, Law 4. Make it satisfying. Track your habits and give yourself an immediate visual win to close the loop.
Eighth, to break bad habits, invert the laws. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
Ninth, start with the 2-minute rule. Scale every new habit down so it takes less than 2 minutes to start.
And 10th, use habit stacking. Anchor your new habit to an existing one to make it automatic.
And through it all, remember the Goldilocks rule. Keep things just challenging enough to stay engaged and keep growing.
At the end of the day, Atomic Habits is so much more than just a self-help book. It's a user manual for human behavior. It bridges that gap between science and real life in such a practical, actionable way.
It really is. It shows you that this immense power to change your life doesn't come from some huge dramatic overhaul. It comes from the tiny, almost invisible choices you make every single day, practiced with relentless consistency.
There's a final quote from James Clear that I think just perfectly sums up the sense of empowerment this book gives you. He says, "Be the designer of your world, not merely the consumer of it."
I love that. And it leads to a perfect final thought for you to take away from this. Just look around you right now at your immediate environment. What is one tiny environmental barrier you can remove, or one 2-minute habit you can stack onto your routine that would cast a vote for the person you want to become tomorrow?